with a group of questions.
You speaking English?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I speak Hebrew. Simi takes me off the payroll. I don't get paid for shit. Right? Only English I get paid. Okay. I want to start with a few questions, more than a few questions, which I'm sure these questions were spoken already here in the Kollel. Questions that I don't think it's a question of what I think about. But what's about these questions are that they all give a feeling like you come together. Like the reason why this is a question, the reason why this is a question, that's a question, because there's one big answer to the whole picture. So let's start first with the idea of Ben Choyr. We spoke about what's the idea that the Malchus should be a Ben Choyr. Mainly shouldn't use the Malchus with Tzorchei Lano, so you can understand. That he should do his tafkid and use it to be Mazir Mechiach, because the truth is, Kil Hashem Amlucha. That we can understand. But if you say that, you have to use the Malchus, like the Rebbe says in Loshen, Mutal Olov La'azim Mechiach. So it's a oil, it's a shibut. So I'm a Eved L'Hashem Yisborach. Why does the idea have to be that I'm a Ben Choyr? And even if, let's say, that we could explain, how could it be that I'm a Eved L'Hashem Yisborach, but even though I'm a Eved L'Hashem Yisborach, be'emes, if a person that's a Eved, how does it say, someone that's Oimul B'Torah, so you could see from other places, and we maybe could explain how could it be that I'm a person that's oisik b'Torah. The Chav Lashon oisik b'Torah is very nice over here. Eisik b'Torah. Even though we could explain maybe why it's a ben choyim, but what's the need? What's the need to give a feeling here in the Torah to express this thing that someone that uses the malchus, the malchus in a good way, so he's a ben choyim. What's over here so much ben choyim over here in the Torah that has to be expressed over here in the Torah? That's one question. Another question that has Mordechai Shaykhs over here, if we're speaking about the Ben Choyim, the Malchus. If you take a look in the Torah, you go into the Torah, so the Rebbe is saying like this. The Rebbe is saying a Mordechai Eitzah, a way for every person for himself. Which that is, that if you're Mekayim the thing, for Chaim Hem L'Mitzoyim B'Peh, that you talk, Divrei Torah B'Peh, so you're Zoychet to be Mamshech Chaim. Chaim is Das. If you have das, you're able to be megala the Eibishter from all the astoras by yourself, first of all, in your level, by yourself. If the Eibishter is one astora, you're megala. If the Eibishter is a second astora, you're astora. Also through learning Torah and being mamshich das, I'm able to be mamshich to me and to be megala my own astoras. And if we're talking about das already, so the whole idea, what the Rebbe speaks further, that through das you get to parnosa, through that you get to shalom. So we have a whole idea, a nice idea about how a person could help himself. Why did the Rebbe have to start the whole Torah with the idea of Malchus? That there is something called, everyone has a Malchus. And in this Malchus, he should know, he shouldn't use it, la'anoseh, le'tzorchoi, because if he does that, so he doesn't do his tafkid, about being Mazal Mechiach, and then he could get an oynish fit. So the way not to get the oynish is to be Mazal Mechiach. L'chor, the whole idea about, Rebbe, why do we have to talk about the people that are under my influence? Let's speak about me. And anyways, it comes out over here in the Torah that the way to be able to be Mazal Mechiach is only if I know what he needs. And if I know what he needs, I need das. So side by side, the process is that the first thing is I have to be attacking myself and fix up myself. So maybe in the Hemshech in the Torah, if the Rebbe would have went in and said, if you did this whole thing, you should know that if you did that, you'll have a capability to be mashpia also on the neshamas that are under you. Okay, nice to know, nice to hear. But why the whole drama? It sounds like everything is around this nekuda of the malchus. And Einochanam, the Rebbe brings in the malchus, in the hemshech of the Torah with Mordechai ve'es, the Mordechai p'nes malchus, and then he leaves the malchus in Gansen, and he goes into, by the end of the Torah, reminds the malchus again. What's the need? It sounds like the Rebbe wants us to understand that everything is around the malchus. The whole idea what I'm talking about, Chaim L'Mitzoyim B'Peh, and the Torah is Tzurufi Yoisius, and this Shemois, everything is around this idea of malchus. So why L'chor? Why is the malchus so nitzrach over here. In this whole idea, that's the second question over here. Another thing which is interesting about the Malchus over here, that after the Rebbe explained us very nicely about that everyone has a P'chinas Malchus, yesh P'chinas Shiur bebeisoi, v'yesh moilach b'yoyser, and afil al kol oil kula. The Rebbe gives it a misgeres. The Rebbe said that's the P'china from Sori Asoros, Sori Chamishim, Sori Meir, Sori Alofim. And it could sound like the Rebbe is just trying to say, I want to show you that everyone has a different kind of P'chinas Malchus. There are P'chinas in Malchus. If I'm telling you that there's an Indian that someone has Malchus only in a small way, Sir Bebeisa, and telling you someone has a Malchus in a bigger way, you're going to ask me maybe from where is the Shirish and the Torah that there's such this darkness in Malchus. So here there is Sori Asoros, Sori Meis. That's the way it could sound. But La'acha Maisa, after the Rebbe, so the question first is that the whole idea? That's what the Rebbe wants to show me here, because in the minute you say you remind this thing of Sori Asoros and Sori Meis, there's another mashmois in this whole thing, which that means there's a connection between the Malchus from everybody to everybody. Because like this, if you tell me Yesh Sori Bebeisoi and there's Moishel B'yoyis, you could say there's no connection. I have 10 people under me, you have 30 people under you. There's no connection between my union from Malchus to the second person's Malchus. But if you call everybody, you put them into that category of Sori Asoros, Sori Meis, Sori Alofim, so you're actually saying we all have a connection. And it's not just we have a connection. It comes out that my Malchus, if I'm a P'china from Sarah Meir, the capability for me to have this Malchus is because I'm getting it from Sarah Elif. Just like Itaka worked over there. The Sarah Elif was Memana under him, he should be Sarah Meir. Kim Techoy is that the Malchus from Sarah Meir is getting his Malchus from Sarah Elif. So it comes out that if I'm Mashpia to the people that are under me, it's actually I'm Mashpia. I'm giving not my Malchus, I'm giving my Malchus, but I'm giving actually the Malchus from that power that's over me. He's the Sarah Elif. So here the whole picture changes. All of a sudden the Malchus is like, it's not just an idea everyone has a different kind of Malchus. It's everyone like in which position is he in this big picture of Malchus. And the Malchus is something like coming up from on top and going down till the bottom. So the Maisa, when I'm Mazir and Mechiach, the person that's under me, I'm actually giving him something that's coming from someone even over me. So it's interesting to understand why is it that way? What's in this game over here that the Malchus works in such a way? What am I giving over? And after the Rebbe brings in this idea of Sori Meis and Sori Alofim, saying that Malchus is an Indian that's built in a like a pyramid. It goes from strong Malchus to smaller ones. 1 second. The whole idea of Malchus, the Rebbe starts the Torah, there's an idea, it's called Kil Hashem HaMelucha. The real Melucha is Kil Hashem HaMelucha. So where is he? Sarah Soy, Sori Meis, Sori Alofim. So what do you say? Yeah, the Eibishter, he's probably over all the Sori Asoros. Lamais, who's over all the Sori Asoros? That's Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was Memana. He's the Das, like the Rebbe speaks in after that. So Kum Techois, that over Moshe Rabbeinu L'choira, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the Torah. The Torah is Kollel Toras Chaim, right? So over this, there's the Chaya Chaim himself, Kil Hashem HaMelucha. So Kum Techois is that when I'm giving over Malchus, I'm giving over from my Malchus to somebody under me, I'm actually giving a power and an energy that's coming from the Eibishter, because Malchus is shaykh to the Eibishter. Malchus is shaykh to Kil Hashem HaMelucha. So here, the whole building of the Torah starts looking different. The whole idea about not using the Malchus L'tzorcha L'anosa is not just an idea of what not to do, because not to get messed up with the Arboros Mekaveres is Baleh. That's not the idea. It's also that, but it's also an idea that when I'm doing what I have to do, I'm actually transmitting that Malchus from the Eibishter into the whole world. Right? So that's like something that we could feel, we can understand. In that way, if we look at it that way, so the whole idea of Ben Chorin starts changing. Because actually, I'm not using Malchus, my Malchus, because I don't have Malchus. The Malchus is Kil Hashem HaMelucha. Every kind of power, of influence that I have, that a person has in himself, Even if it's a small power, it's not his power. He doesn't have melucha. The Eibishter has melucha. So actually, what I'm supposed to do, to being mazer mechiach, I'm actually supposed to let my malchus be a ben chorin to use itself, be used by the Eibishter's kil Hashem melucha. So by actually just letting go of the malchus, not taking it for myself, and letting it be a ben chorin, so it's doing already. It's doing the process that it's supposed to do. And being maziv and mechiach all the people, and like Taka the Rebbe says, Taka the Rebbe says, Torah machrezes kamayah. The Torah is always machuz, always mechiach. But in the tnur, what do I have to do with my influence? My influence could be mamish kule ben chorin. It's meshucher. It's meshucher to do the job what the malchus is supposed to do. Mitzad atzmo, mitzad kil Hashem hamlucha. Okay, so we can't forget about the question, what's so dramatic about this thing about Malchus, that Rebbe had to start the Torah with the Malchus. Another question over here in the Torah is, what's the idea that the Rebbe had to put this whole Indian from Astoras into two categories? To set them up and say, there's Astora Achas, and there's Astora Shebetoich Astora. It sounds very nice. It's like a chap. The Astora itself is muster. So it's like, oh, I get it. There's Astora, I know about Astora, and then there's the Astora itself is muster. And that's Astora shebetoich Astora. Is that necessary? The Rebbe has so many Torahs that the Rebbe speaks. The Rebbe could have said in different words. Yesh keilu shenisrachku ktsas. Yesh keilu shenisrachku harbe. And like the Rebbe himself says, B'kinoshani Elokim over there, Shekvar hoyu etzel Hashem Yizboach, Kvar shocho v'nisrachu k'tzas, the Rebbe says. So a lot of places where I want to say that there's someone that's in a bad position, I could say he's a little rochik, and he's a lot rochik. Why does it have to be here in the Torah? What's the idea to set it up in two places and make out of it a whole idea? There's Astora and Astora Shebetoich Astora. What is it serving? Huh? Why?
One is that star that you know that the day you just don't know where he is.
Yeah.
And one is a different type of person because they don't know. It's not the same kind of star.
Right, I'm asking with you. I'm asking if you learn it, right, it's true. If you learn the idea so nicely, the Rebbe put it down so nicely, so it comes out makes sense also, right? But this thing would make sense in every Torah in the Kuta Marana. Every time the Rebbe is speaking about it, that the person's the Eibush is musta from him, I can make a whole subject out of it, make this lumdis, and say that a lot of times the Etzam Astor is musta. So I'm not saying that I can't understand it. I'm trying to understand why is it so nitzrach over here. Is there anything more? Is there anything more to this thing? One second. Is there anything more? Or we could just be nistopic in what you're saying, right? Which that's the actually logic over here. Yeah, what's so hard to understand? The Rebbe is giving you a way to look at the picture and telling you that a lot of times there's the Astor itself. A lot of times the Astor itself is muster. Is that the thing? Or the whole game over here in the Torah, without putting into these two categories, the whole beauty of the Torah wouldn't sit right. That's my question. If you get to anything more of it.
Maybe it has to do with the two types of malchus. The malchus that doesn't have anything biskali and has totally biskasi, and then the malchus that has a little biskali and a little biskasi.
Oh, enough for now. So first of all, for sure it has a shaykhis, because we have to say over here that there's no way that there's a whole idea about iskasia, and the whole idea about Astora, and Astora has an Astora Shabbatech Astora, and the iskasia has to have a shaykhis lefere with the Astora. So we're going. So it does make sense that it's sitting in two platforms.
Why would we care so much about other people? Like first work on myself, right?
Right.
Because the second I start, you can't take care of yourself. It's not
You need the other guy's malchus.
Right.
Right, you can't take care of someone else has to take care of
I'm just opening it as a question, not saying that there's no ways to answer it. I'm saying that if a lot of times you learn a Torah, it takes time until it hits you. Like, one second, what do you do with me? Like, first you're busy to understand. You want to understand what he's saying, so you don't have so much time to say, mine has to come in. You know, like, don't talking to you, you understand what he's saying. So first you're busy saying, I understand, let's tell me what you're talking. Now I understand what you're talking, it takes time. I understand what you're saying. Then when you go home, you say, what did you want in the first place, right? Because there's a certain raftas that you get after that. So I feel like I'm now at this point that I want to understand why is it sitting on these two ideas. And also, it's very interesting, which has a moedik shaykhs, you have to say it has to shaykhs. Why is the Rebbe making a whole fuss of Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet? Is there anything over here in this Yodeya? Or it's just that's the outcome. The outcome is, since I'm trying to tell you that there's somebody that the Eibush is muster from him, but he knows that the Eibush is muster from him. So it's time, it's a musik. He knows. And there's a time that you don't even know that he's muster. And the Rebbe then puts it into Nasem Isa Leheter. And the Rebbe says the whole time, this Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet. Is there anything to win, to gain in the Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet? Or does Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet is less chomer than that person that doesn't do? That doesn't even Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet. Why am I making a whole fuss of the Yodeya? Because this Yodeya itself, the Rebbe says, das comes from Chaim. So once at this point itself that I'm a Yodeya, B'chlal, anything, means that I'm already in a certain process over here with a shaykhis with Chaim. Because if I wouldn't have a shaykhis l'chorah with Torah, so I wouldn't have a shaykhis with Chaim, so I wouldn't even be in the darga from Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet. I'm not a Yodeya B'chlal. What? There's no Torah here, right? Like it's a game. It's a kind of Yodeya. It's not Stama Yodeya because he's trying to say it's not the one that doesn't know anything. So there's not an Inyan to be a Yodeya Shenaf. No, there's an Inyan over here from being a Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet. So what's the Inyan? What's this Inyan from this kind of Yodeya? Because if there is such an Inyan from being a Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet, so then all of a sudden I can understand why the first Hastara is put into one category. Because the first Hastara is not just that he's Mustak Tzas. He's an Hastara b'pchina Yodeya Shenasa Loikehet, and then there's something else which becomes Hastara sheb'toch Hastara. With there, even I don't have that kind of Yodeya. Like it's any Yodeya Michayev, right? It says any Michayev means I have nothing to do with the Chaim. B'chlal, I'm knocked off. Another interesting thing over here. L'chorah comes out that this, I can hear here in the Torah that there's two places where a mamshich things to that place. Like two kind of kelim. In one place, when I'm learning Torah, which that's the midos, and that's the yomim, which they are the kelim, because the Rebbe says that they are the shemos, right? It's like kli, right? It shouldn't be ribi or. The kli, the Rebbe calls it a kli. So when I'm learning Torah, I'm mamshich chaim, and chiyas into the midos, into the Torah. Okay, that's one place. Someone's saying, could I see something going into something else? Yeah. I'll show you some nice idea, a spiritual way to see how a spiritual energy goes into another thing. What's it called? Chaim b'toich HaTorah, b'toich HaMidos v'yom shel HaTorah. But then there is lahamshich harichas yomim l'toich HaMalchus. What's that? Is that another thing that you have to do? You have to be mamshich also the richas yom l'toich HaMalchus? Or maybe when I'm mamshich the chaim, the toich hayomim v'amidos, ba'oisoi mokoim I'm mamshich the richas yomim l'toich HaMalchus. And the Rebbe says taka such a lashon, which l'choy the lashon could sound very miyuter, like what are you saying? We understood it, but the Rebbe is misakim the thing in such a way which we have to explain nimtza. The Rebbe says it's in Mamish before, in Ois Gimel before Ois Dalet, which that's Omud Chof Ches. The Rebbe says a lashon like this: Nimtzo shayadi arichas yomim shu b'chinas das shemamshichin al yidei Torah al yidei ze ba'atzmi mamshich arichas yomim hana l'toich HaMalchus. In other words, he's telling you, when I told you this whole long thing about being mamshich arichas yomim l'toich shemamshich al yidei Torah, which that's das. That's the same thing of being mamshich arichas yomim l'toich HaMalchus. That gives a certain feeling that Malchus itself is a midah. Malchus itself is like a kli. So, what would it be? How would they sit together over here in the Torah? This idea of Malchus being something that's like this. There's arichas yom. There's arichas yomim that are mamshich b'toich hamalchus, and then there's arichas yomim that are mamshich stam l'toich hamidos. When it comes to the das, the Rebbe says in the beginning, what the Rebbe says in the malchus toich mamshich arichas yomim l'toich hamalchus over there. We don't understand so much how a mamshich the chaim, because it comes out that the only reason why it's called arichas yomim because it's the hefech from abonos mekaveres is balel, but it's not an active mamshich zay. But that's called mamshich arichas yomim l'toich hamalchus. But when it comes to the question that he needs das, because even if he has already malchus, he's not going to know how to use it, so he needs das. Then the Rebbe says sof lahamshich arichas yomim. The Rebbe stops using arichas yomim l'toich hamalchus. So we have to find what's pink malchus in that way, because when you see the malchus as something that's also a kli, and everything is coming into the malchus, so it sounds like you're saying it in two different ways. One way is saying that when a mamshich chaim l'toich hamidos v'yomim, that's called a mamshich arichas yomim into gvulos from midos, from understanding. And then when you say the same thing's happening to the malchus, it sounds like the malchus is the same thing. It sounds like the malchus is the Torah. The Rebbe doesn't say it before. Why shouldn't he say it? Does he mean it? Does he mean it's be'erach? How does it work?
Maybe the arichas yomim is that it goes to the mouth. That's the arichas. No, the chayis going to read this. And how do you marry yomim? How do you be married those kevin? It goes into the mouth.
So the malchus is the yomim.
The malchus is the yomim.
Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. I'm asking. It's easy to say, but then you have to put it down. You have to prove it. You know what I mean? In other ways, right? Understand? That's what I'm trying to say. So I want to go to.
You're trying to say whether it happens at once, like you still have to do something after giving the
Is it two?
No, I don't think it's two. I think it's one. But I want to really understand what does it give me more to understand about malchus when I understand that malchus itself is a midah. What does it mean malchus is a midah? When you talk to me about using my malchus, should be a ben choyim, and that is
maybe malchus is just something that has to last.
But if he's saying that the malchus is the yomim, just like the mamshich arichas yomim, the toich haTorah, right? The toich haTorah, that's the midos. And if you're going to say they have to be mamshich also the toich malchus, and that's why he's saying the malchus are the yomim. So the malchus is a midah.
Remember, the Torah is also both at the same time. The Torah itself is Moshe Rabbeinu, it's the Chai Chaim, and it's the same time also the Kli.
The Torah is the kli that's holding the Chai Chaim. It's not the same. What do you mean? The reason why the Torah is Chaim because it has the capability. Yeah. Because he's the kli.
So there's no Kli and Chai Chaim. It's the case.
Let's speak. These are the kind of conversation which I feel like we're not going to.
I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say.
Okay, so you understand later, or you understand a different question. Nicht gefällt.
You're trying to say that the malchus is the.
Listen, Rebbe, you have a good head, you're deep.
No,
Okay, if I'm gonna have to be busy now, if I'm gonna be to explain you, no, be'emes, I took be'emes. If I'm gonna have to explain you and backwards around the thing, we have 15 minutes going away. So we'll leave it for next time, okay? In the meantime, 5 questions will ganz fine. The second one we'll leave it for there, okay?
Maybe it has to do what you said before, the malchus.
Let's go for Lom give out, okay? You say that? Another question over here is the Rebbe says a few times that if the Achesh is Galim Kollel Toras, so the Rebbe says, "Az Torah machrezes kamayu, ad mosai psoim ta'avu pesi." The question is, why does after Shevet is Galim Kollel Toras, the Torah have to be machrezes kamayu? He went through the process already. He went out of his Astoros and his Gala. The Torah machrezes. I can understand that before you have das, so the Torah. That's always machriz, you have a problem that you can't hear, right? But after the Rebbe says a few times, "Va'az nisgal astor shebetoich astor, va'az ator machrezes kamar." That's another thing they have to be in his burning the thing. I want to try by the end of the time. I want to try to get to something. Try to put things together, but a lot of times you can't hear something if you don't hear the tzorah, if you don't hear the questions that. Right. Aber was fällt euch noch schon aus für das Tursche Betrag Hasture? Der Rebbe ist mit seinem 2 Mules, gesehen? Also Teure Machrezes Kamayim. And it's solchen Schnitzer doch. Der Rebbe ist schon weg von der Minion Bechlal. Okay, last thing on the kud over here is about the name. The Rebbe says, when the Rebbe is speaking about the Torah, that why is it that when we quote the Torah, so we quote the Chayachai, the Rebbe says it's like somebody that when you call his name, so the Rebbe says, Takef Zomin Etzloi, that's the Lashon? Mizumin Etzloi, right. So everyone asks, what does it mean, he's Mizumin Etzloi? It's not that way. If I scream someone's name, Moshe, so he's dead. Doesn't mean if you say Moshe, the guy starts running to me. That's not what happens. So there were a lot of people that want to explain that the idea is that's not Mizum means that he comes, but he turns around to you. That means he's available. Like say a priest, say Moshe, so the guy also is available to you. So someone asks me, so it doesn't. That's if I say the name. If I go, I say pss, pss, to somebody in the street, he's going to turn around also. He's right now also available. So what does it mean that when you say somebody's name, he's a takev shekoyre noisoi, he's Mizum. So I think that the idea is, it's not that, the Rebbe's not talking about koirin, that when you call somebody, you say Moshe. Koirin b'shem means, when two people are talking, the minute I say a name of somebody else, the whole most of that person, the whole understanding, what that person is takef in the machshav, in the toidoy from the person, is mizum b'mi. I have the whole picture from the person. His concept, what is this person? Who is he? There's no easier way to do it, just to say a name of a person. Everyone understands. Like, I talk about somebody, and I also say, who is the guy over there? The guy would say one thing. You say a whole story. Someone did something. Someone was by a chasana, he made a balagan, don't ask, it's a routine. And everyone's, who's the name? And all of a sudden you throw the name, and everyone knows the name. The minute you throw the name, everyone, the ganze picture. I know everything. Because through the name, everybody's able to keep a whole gigabyte of information. Everything is in the name of it. And the raya that I could make this thing about koyim, take a shekoyim la'odin, doesn't mean that when I call the name, just when I say the name, is because the Rebbe comes to the posik from the Melech. The Korah boy koyim mechayov. So you see that Korah doesn't mean only, it means reading. So when I'm saying a name, it's also Korah. Now what did I think?
The only problem with this is you don't need to say someone's name. You could think someone's name, and it's the same thing.
What could you do?
You don't have to say the name to have this picture.
So how do you get the picture?
You could think
If
it.
I want to tell you that someone very stupid, someone very wild did a balagan yesterday, in 1 second you should understand the whole picture, why he did it, and how something like this can happen. A lot of it's not just to say a name. You have another way for me to give the picture. Someone says, "What's the given?"
To say it over, but you yourself, you're being Kollel Chaim, right? You don't have to say it.
You said that there's another way how to give a picture.
No, to be mizat. You said techef mizumen etzli, meaning
that means he sees mizumen. That means he's in his tfisa. What?
Chaim. A person doesn't have to. Me on my own, I could just think someone's name, and I have the same zimun I have in my brain.
Yeah, but it's in your mind to be able. The niceness of a name is that when you say it to somebody else, it's you're transferring the whole information. It's all based on a name. On 6 oisius, you have everything laying there.
I'm saying my point is you don't. If the whole zach is that you're being Kollel Chaim, you don't have to say the name in order for me to be kairi in my brain. I'm not telling it to someone else. When I sit down and I say,
you want to tell it to somebody else?
When I want to, in a chanami. But when I'm sitting down, no, because the Rebbe is saying that when to be machros mechiach, you need limit Torah. And then the Torah arises machros. You're being Kollel Chaim. You're calling it in to who? Not to him, to me. I'm calling it into myself. I don't have to say the name for me to have this whole zimun happen in my brain.
I hear. Anyways, the idea is that what comes out is that the Torah is midos in yomim, the Rebbe says. The whole idea of the Torah is, which brings das, means how do you bring in names? When we're learning Torah the whole time, we're making names, because the Rebbe says that it's oisios, v'tzirufim, v'tevois. That means it's not just one name. Names mean kalim. Where in this kalim, I could have a tfisa, a das, that he should be zomin for me. When the Eibush Marab Kollel Toras Chaim, what do you mean Kollel Toras Chaim? Chaim is the das. That means the understanding, the tfisa that I have in the Eibishter is going to be coming through the name, through the Torah, because Torah is names. Just like when you call somebody else in the name, everything's there. The same way is about the Torah. Now, why is it important to explain this whole thing about here? Because if we understand, I think that one of the main things here in the Torah is how we build kelim to understand and be toifis the etzem modes from the Eibishter, which is chaya chaim. That's the idea of the Torah. And every kind of astora that the Rebbe is talking about, the astoras are meshabesh, the kli, that you can't see what a shame is supposed to give you. A shame is supposed to give you an understanding of the person. And that's what the Rebbe says, like in the beginning of the Torah, that when it doesn't have das, the Rebbe says, Einam etzloi. What does it mean, Einam etzloi? It's not in his tfisa. He doesn't even know his name. That means he doesn't even know the name of the person. Einam etzloi. They're not available. The information of the person, of who he is and what he is not available for me. Because everything is about how do I make in my das and my tfisa that the das and the understanding for the Eibishter should be available. Okay, so let's try, we have another 10 minutes. Let's try to put things a little bit together here. When we spoke about the idea of knowing, what's the minor from knowing nasa lekeheta? What's the idea? Yudea shenasa lekeheta. When the Rebbe starts the Torah, and he says in the middle of the Torah, ki yeshtei astoros. Yesh astora that he knows the Eibishter is mustar mimeno. Yesh astora that he doesn't even know that. Now, I think it's a way, there's a big challenge in how we learn, how we read it, these words, with what kind of enigma we learn. Usually people learn this shtickle over here with like a very serious kind of psura, like there's something very not good happening. Like the Rebbe says like this. Ki yesh shtei astoros. And you read it like this. It's very hard. The broch is big. And here the music starts becoming very sharp. And everything like that's the real, that's when we really get messed up. And then I start thinking, what's saying? So where am I in the whole picture over here? We are the normal people in this whole thing. I thought, okay, people will say, no, you can't really say it was that way because a lot of people know they have the chush nasli keheta, right? I think it's the opposite thing. There's always two ways the way it's working. Every person, l'choira, is in the first hastor. And the whole idea is to be megala the hastor. So we have to read it differently. Ki yesh shtei hastoros. Shashem yizboch nisto bastocha achas gam ken kosher moed limtzoi. It's hard to find them. Av pi chen kshu nisto bastocha achas efshel liyagea v'lachto ad shimtzoi yizboch. And this is not like, oh, you got messed up. Well, you should know, you can still try, because you still know you can still get there. This is the avodah. The ikar avodah, what a person is supposed to do in his life, is to be megala the astora. This kind of das, l'das, this kind of l'das she'nasa lekeheta, that's called das. That's the das, because we're all in one astora. Why we're all in one astora? Because the etzem etzias is astora. Everyone's malchus that he has b'fnei atzmoi is a master. The etzem thing, when the Rebbe said right away that there's an idea of Kel Hashem Amlucha, and then the Rebbe said that everyone has a malchus is master. A malchus is a power, energy that you have for yourself. It's something that you have that could be a master. So we're all in Astor. Not just for that reason, all in Astor. The Rebbe himself says that the Torah itself, that's the Shemois, the reason why it shouldn't be Riboy Hashemen to be Mechaber the Or Haner. That means that what? That you need a Kli, a Tzimtzum. The Rebbe calls it a Tzimtzum. Every Tzimtzum is Astor. So even though when you Kollel Toras Chaim, what do you do? When you Kollel Toras Chaim, the idea is that you megala das Torahs. The Rebbe is talking about a das here, not a das to that you have to one time change it. Yet in Astorah, you have to change it and make that the Astorah shouldn't be Astorah. The idea is always to be megala, like it's a light that shows itself, comes out from a mokai musta. Like the Rebbe was an example of a ner. A ner is a candle. What kind of light does a candle bring when you look at a candle? It's not like a fluorescent, it's light. The candle keeps on showing you that he's megala something. There's a mystery. Because the whole beauty of it is that it's in a dark place. So it keeps on telling the story of the dark room. A lechtala keeps on being megala. It's a tchusha from something that it's megala, and it keeps on being megala, and it's a whole time, the gilui is growing, but the niceness of the gilui is that it's coming from a mokai musta. That's the idea in a candle that Rebbe brings over here. But it's not just that. That's nice. Like, from that, you can't be mechiach that that's the idea. But when you see that the Rebbe is making a whole idea, megala stories, megala, and again megala, you understand that the idea is that the way the things are working is that everyone is in the first hastorah. And because man in the first hastorah, your whole life you're going to be working and being megala the whole time, more the hastorah. But Chas v'Sholom, there's the inyan that, and that's called Yedea. That's a Yedea. When you learn Torah the whole time, you're a whole time megala the hastorah. But you never get out of the first hastorah. There's no getting out of the first hastorah. The only thing you have to get out of is the hastorah shebetech hastorah. The hastorah b'tech hastorah, that's the place where you can't do what you're supposed to do usually. Because you don't have any das. You don't even know that there's something that to be nizgal over here. Right? But just to get to this focus, understand that when the Rebbe, we spoke of why the Rebbe put it into two basic things. One is a Pashtas Torah, but he knows. That's what we know. If anyone thinks that in this world, if you come to the das is going to be bigger than Yodea HaKadosh Baruch Hu Musta Mimeno, it's not true. It's not that. Yesterday I started doing tshuva, I knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Musta Mimeni. And now, what do I know? I know something more. You always know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Musta Mimcha. Huh? What was the hefrach for it?
Why is it always staying there?
Why is he always staying there? Because the whole niceness of the idea is that it's a gili that's coming out of a mokai musta. It's like we had a little ayah there about the idea that you say ay, so what do you know? And then we understood that a lot of times the etzem thing that I could recognize something bigger or maloi, but I don't know what it is. That's the tfisa itself. So the same thing over here in Torah Nunvav. The tfisa is the whole time you see the mystery. You see the how everything is mastered Eibush, and the whole time you see how he's popping up. It's a lot beautiful. If you ask me, the story is a lot nicer when you see something that's challenging the representatives of the Eibush in the world, but the whole time it is lechtelach all around showing up his gil. But where do I want to come to with all this? I want to put the whole thing of Malchus over here in this kind of picture. The idea is that a person the whole time, the melucha from the Eibishter, should keep on coming out of him. When the mitzad, the mitzias is that the melucha, arabonos mekaveres baleo, that means the mitzias from the Malchus mitzad atzmoi is astorah. You have to bring arichas yomim into the Malchus because you're supposed to make that your Malchus shouldn't be an astorah to the Eibishter. There has to be a gil mitoch Malchus. What could be the gil mitoch Malchus? When through my power, if I'm a person with power, and through my power you could understand the power from the Eibishter, the Malchus from the Eibishter, so then my Malchus Kule became something that's Megala Malchusay. And if not, if in one shot we could be Poisa, take out from the first Hastorah, let's say, and my Malchus doesn't have any mashmois and any covet for itself, so then l'chor we come to Tikkun Abriya. A person just has to one time do this avoid, get to this level, which his Malchus is not covering over the Eish's Malchus. No, that's not the idea. The whole idea is that a whole life of yours, you're taking something that's l'chor is sois and master Eibishter, and you're not letting it go into Hastorah Shabbatoi Hastorah, which means you're not letting it, should become something that's, let's take L'tzorchoi. What's shaykh to say that a person shouldn't have L'tzorchoi? Tzorchoi, that's the basics, a basic human thing. A person uses his mouth as his influence for his tzorchoi. Bringing money home, bringing parnasa home, is L'tzorchoi. It's L'tzorchoi. That's not the idea is, what are you doing with it? If it's only focused on L'tzorchoi, so then you master the Eibishter there. And then it could mamish become Hastorah Shabbatei Hastorah. But if you do the avoid of Gilui Hastorah, that's Ikar the avoid over here, of building a whole time names and ideas, shameless, how to accept the Eibishter, so then a whole time through my Malchus over here, I'm Megala the Eibishter. And then if we put what we spoke in the beginning about the Sori Meir, Yisrael Alofa and everything, that it's Kil Hashem Amlucha, so everything makes sense. It's like a whole pyramid over here, of people with energy of Malchus, with power, and then no one says to the Eibishter. Through their stira, they're Megala the Eibishter. We're not going to have enough time to, I just want to, before 10:15, just say something short. Today I was learning a Gemara in Brochus, a nice idea of being turned involved. I was learning a Gemara in Brochus, and the Gemara says, Minayin shemivochin Ifnei HaTorah. That means, how do we know that when a Torah, you have to say Birkas HaTorah before learning Torah? So the Gemara says, brings the pasuk, what brings the pasuk? Kishem Hashem Ekro, Hova Godel Elikeinu. From Kishem Hashem Ekro, Hova Godel Elikeinu, you see they have to be Mevorach, Birkas HaTorah before the Torah. So there's Rashi over there, which is a little hard to understand. Then there's a Marsha. That's what caught me over there. The Marsha says, how do you see supposed to bench, make a bracha? Kishem Hashem Ekro, that's the Torah. And before the Torah, Hova Godel Elikeinu, you have to bring a bracha before the Torah, because the Torah is Kishem Hashem Ekro. So the Marsha says, why is the Torah Kishem Hashem Ekro? Ki ha-Torah kula shmoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so I mean, that's not the first place where you can see this idea that the Torah is a shemis. But what's nice is, from there you learn Birkas HaTorah. And what's the Ikar Birkas HaTorah? Asher g'rishonu b'mitzvoisav v'tzivonu la'asoik b'divrei Torah. The Rebbe says here, Eisek HaTorah. The Rebbe says Eisek HaTorah, and that's Birkas HaTorah. And the whole Birkas HaTorah you learn from idea that comes out from the shemis from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's a Mordechai connection. So then I started thinking, putting this out a little bit with a Teuchen here also, what's the idea of Eisek HaTorah? I'm not sure yet. But one thing is for sure, the way the Rebbe explains what a person is doing when he's learning Torah, it's Mamash Eisek, because the Rebbe says that he's building tzirufim. Mamash, he's building, it's not just saying Torah, you're building a Metzias. You're taking tzirufim, you're building shems. Every shem has a most that it takes into itself, right? And the Rebbe says, Faked, when the shemis go nishapchu chadshon through the averis, and then you learn Torah, you're turning them back over. So it's a pretty shtickle Eisek over here. We're pretty busy. It's not just saying Torah, it's a Eisek.